Hey guys, Steve Welch here, Beaman Toyota. It's really cold. It's just really cold right now. All right, so anytime it gets cold, a lot of times you start thinking about winter and things along those lines, about surviving in your car. Recently, they had on I-95 in Virginia, there was a bunch of people got stuck for hours in their car, and I'm always looking to help you guys out, of course, and there's some things that we should do. So. Now, I've had some people that have responded anytime that I've done something on winter saying, what do you know? You live in the South. I do live in Tennessee. I am from Michigan, by the way, guys. So you might say, what do I know? I live in the South. I've seen actually there's a different winter in the South than there is in the North. All right. So, and I'm sure this is, worldwide. There's different winters. All right. In Tennessee, when precipitation falls, it tends to fall as rain first. That's what just happened here, all right? It was raining yesterday. It was about 50 degrees and raining. This morning we wake up and it is 28 degrees. There's a coat of snow over everything, but underneath the snow, you've got this. You got ice that's underneath the snow. So everything that was rain turns to ice. So it's a different thing in the South, guys. So up in North, usually you start at 20, you end up at 16, and everything fell as snow. It's kind of more rare that you get it to where it comes as ice. Regardless of how you get it, hopefully, I've got some insights here that can help you guys to be safe. So I'm going to start off with some things that you should do if you get stuck. And the end of this video, I'm going to talk to you about some things that you should have in your vehicle also, just in case you get stuck. All right, so first off, obviously you're going to have a vehicle that's a little bit more cleared off than this if you're stuck, of course. So I'm going to open this one up, right? I'm going to kind of, this one's a used car, of course. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop in here and I'm going to start this car up. All right, I'm going to shut this door. All right, so the thing to know is something, if you look on this one, you're going to see here, the gas tank is at a quarter tank full in this particular car. If I was driving on the road in these conditions, I would not want to have that fuel tank less than a half a tank. Reason being is obviously getting stuck. If you get stuck, the more gas you have, the better. If you think there's a high likelihood that you could end up somewhere, man, keep it at 3/4. I mean, don't, fill it up on the way home, fill it up on the way to work, just keep filling it up. It's not going to hurt to have extra gas. It hurts when you run out, right? So I definitely say to do that. So I'm just going to point that out first. But the most important thing, of course, is to heed your local warnings, guys. So anytime that a local official gives you a warning, it's not usually because they're trying to be all powerful or all knowing or anything like that. Be quite honest, I've seen schools closed in Tennessee on the forecast of snow, and the very next day be 40 or 50 degrees outside with absolutely no snow, just because I guess that cold front went a little bit higher than I thought. I've seen that happen, all right? But they're usually not that far off, right? So that being said, you should always heed the local warnings, of course, and defer to people who are smarter than I am when it comes to that, weather people, things like that, of course. So get it. I always say get it from more than one source. If you see 3 or 4 sources that are saying the same thing, it's probably pretty accurate, right? All right. So, but you can be caught off guard, of course. So if you're driving down the road and you're caught off guard and you're going, oh crap, this snow's coming down, I'm halfway home, I've got another 30 miles to go and I'm not quite there yet. Now what? You're halfway in between here and there, and I hope you're ready, because just in case you need to, here you go. So, and I have a lot of people say, get to the point. I understand. I'm trying. Okay. But I got to lead up to this a little bit. All right. So, so the first thing you should do is, obviously you should have several emergency supplies. Like I said, I'm going to go over the emergency supplies that I like to have, and I'm going to go over that, of course. If you have a vehicle like this, then the next doesn't apply. But if you have a vehicle with a trunk, if something was to happen, move those supplies from your trunk to the inside of the car, move them to the back seat, something like that. You want to keep them above freezing for certain parts of the supplies, but also you want to make sure that you have access to them. Some vehicles, you can't access the trunk from inside the car. So if it was to ice up or something like that, and you're going to have to have a way to get to them. So you should pull those out of the trunk immediately. If you think that it's going to be a while before you get to moving, maybe 30 minutes, something like that. If you've been sitting for a while, pull those supplies into the vehicle. All right. So that's what I should do, or what you should do. So now the reason we said half gallon a tank is you're likely to burn half full on your tank. You're likely to burn roughly a half gallon per hour for most cars, some a little bit more, some a little less. But rule of thumb, if you have it a half tank, your average car has about a 15 gallon tank or so. Well, you got some cars that have 40 gallon tanks in them. Well, obviously a half gallon will last 20 gallons, but you're probably going to burn a little bit more than a half gallon an hour. Maybe you're burning a gallon an hour. You have more gallons, so that's something to know about, of course. You should run your car for about 10 minutes to 15 minutes at a time. Now, what I always tell people to do is, if you're looking at this car here, right, you're going to turn on your heat, right? So once you know that it's warm, you got your heat turned on here. If you have, and I'll turn this down just for effect here, but if you have heated seats, turn those on. Right? If you have a sunroof, pull the cover. All right, keep things that are insulated as much as possible. But if you have heated seats, anything like that, turn on your rear defroster. Why? Because it's going to help keep your windows clear, help you to be able to be seen, and that for others to see you, right? If you can block off, like if you're in this car right here and you can block off part of the back, maybe you want to do that, hang a blanket or something like that. Realize that heat rises, so if you're a little bit higher off the ground, maybe you can move your seat or your feet up, something like that. Realize it's going to be a little warmer up top, so definitely want to do that. The other thing I'll tell you too is that a lot of us, we're going to charge things, and we're going to do that while you have the vehicle running. So you should, like I said, you should shut it off, run it for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then shut it off for at least 30, maybe a little bit longer, right? While you have it running, charge your device. So charge your phone. If you have 2 or 3 phones, charge your phones while you have it running. Why? Because it's going to keep it charged. You can, realistically entertain yourself, of course, while you're doing that. Don't sit with the vehicle off and your radio on. All right. There's some people that they're like, well, I needed to be entertained, so I wanted to sit and listen to the radio while, I was waiting for help. Okay, well, you might not be able to start your car again. All right, so the battery has something that's known as cold cranking amps. The reason it says cold cranking amps is because that's the hardest time on a battery. If you are in bitterly cold weather, you might not even want to shut the car off. You might not be able to get it back started again. So realize what you're dealing with, of course, but couple of these things, I mean, I've read them from Minnesota, from North Dakota, for state governments, things like that. And keep in mind, these are all pointers. Obviously you got to do what you can do to be as safe as possible. These are pointers only, and my opinions, but definitely don't rely on me as your only source. But it's just meant to help, right, guys? So I'm trying to help. Hopefully it can save one person from having something bad happen. So with that being said, so don't sit there and listen to your radio while you're doing it. Don't charge your devices while you're not running the car. Realize that sometimes in your USBs and things, you'll have different rates of charge on different ports. Like the port that connects to the radio, that port is usually a slower speed connection. So if you have other connections that you can use that are high speed connections, use those while it's running. You'll get more of a charge, and maybe you can entertain yourself a little bit with your phone. So definitely wanted to tell you guys that. So but do all that while it's running, of course. So every once in a while, hit your horn. All right, so if you're And the reason I say that is if you're out of sight, right? So if somebody doesn't know where you're at, if you've gone off the side of the road and you're just kind of hoping that somebody will find you, if you hit your horn periodically, especially while the car's running, people will start hearing your horn. Maybe they'll, know that you're having a problem, because you should always stay with your vehicle, because usually it's going to be in a better spot. As long as it's safe to stay with the vehicle, you should probably stay with the vehicle. So, now, here's something else that's kind of a cool thing too. If you can stay warm without running the car, that is a really good thing. So how do you stay warm without running the car, right? Well, there's something called canned heat, all right? And there's these little canisters, right? And you light them. There's like a gel inside of them. And you light them, and these things will burn for like 2 hours, all right? And they put off a good amount of heat, all right? Well, I mean, because they'll keep food warm and stuff like that. Doesn't produce, and make sure that you read the labels, that it doesn't produce any carbon monoxide, which I don't believe any of them do, but read the label, make sure that it doesn't say for outdoor use only. As long as it's good for indoor use, it should be fine, right? So you take that canister and you put it into, I would call it an empty paint bucket or paint can, but don't do one that's had paint in it. They sell them without any residue of paint or anything like that, and just get an empty can, right? But get a little bucket, whatever you're going to get, but make sure that it's safe, of course, that you're not going to start something on fire. But you can actually use that on the inside. Set that little heater source in there, set that on the floor or something like that. Man, you can get that thing, it'll warm up pretty good. So if you have a couple of those things are like $3 a piece. And those things are great to keep in your car. And if it comes down to whether or not you're surviving, you're gonna be really happy that you have that. Maybe you stop, you keep that thing going for 2 hours. Maybe you don't even need to run your car for those 2 hours, or maybe you run it once, instead of running it more than that, to just kind of get everything circulating again. So you should definitely look at doing something like that, of course. So like I always said, let people know where you are. Something else is you also want to keep your exhaust clear. So if you go out to your exhaust pipe, and I'll kind of show you here. So if you go out to your exhaust pipe here, and see if this one's got if you can kind of see everything's pumping out over here, right? So got your exhaust over here, she's pumping out. You can see where your exhaust pipe's coming out down there. All right, so what you want to do is you want to keep that clear. Reason for that is actually twofold. All right, so, and it's still cold out here, so I'm still doing my thing. But anyway, if you don't have that, you can actually get carbon monoxide that can come back into the car, or you can even kind of suffocate your car. So it's kind of like the whole banana in a tailpipe thing. You can have that happen too. So you definitely want to make sure that you keep that exhaust pipe clear. If it is running a lot, if your car is running a lot, then chances are it'll keep itself a little bit clear. But when you got a bunch of snow coming down, something like that, it could get clogged. So just so you know, a lot of people try to dig out their cars. They try to take a shovel and dig them out, or you're running in, running out, and you break a sweat. That's the worst thing you could do. You don't want to have on wet clothes, because it loses its insulation value. So don't have on wet clothes. Don't overexert yourself. You can have a heart attack, things like that. You don't want to do that. And then kind of the last thing, if you have an electric car, realize you have an electric car. I know that Tesla has something called camp mode on it, which they say will cost you 15 miles of range for every hour while it's in there, and it's just kind of meant to keep you warm inside the car. So obviously that depends on where you start too. If you're almost out of battery, well, you're kind of SOL. You can't really bring a can of electricity to the side of the road. So I've said that for a while there, but I guess you could bring a generator with some fuel and plug it in that way, but it's a lot more difficult. And if you own an electric car, maybe that's not what you want to do. But so that being said, those are all pointers for if you get stuck. So now we're to the second half of this video. What should you have in your car? All right, so first off, you should have a blanket for everyone you expect to be in your car. If you have extra, so be it. You know, it's not bad to have extra blankets. Maybe there's other people you can help with a blanket. Maybe you just coat yourself in 5 blankets and you're good. But have at least a blanket for every person you expect that could be in your car. All right. Or easier way to put it, if you have 7 seats, have 7 blankets. If you have 5 seats, have 5 blankets. You're not going to have 7 people in a 5-passenger car, usually. I guess some people could, but anyway. Obviously never below a half tank, bringing that up again, of course. Ice scraper and a brush. Obviously you want to be able to take care of the ice. De-icer fluid in your washers. All right, so in that tank under your hood, you should have de-icer fluid, or at the very minimum -20 for your washer fluid. You can have something that's called +32, which is basically blue water. If it's +32, it means it'll freeze. So if you're buying washer fluid and you're like, hey, I'm going to have washer fluid for the winter, and it says +32 on it, don't do that. It can freeze. -20 is good too. You know, it shouldn't freeze as long as you're above -20, which is probably all right. De-icer usually has a additional component in there that'll allow it to help de-ice the car. That's the one I like to go with, and there's several brands out there. I like Prestone just because I've used it and it's worked well for me. Doesn't mean that anything else is lesser or more, but it's just, that's the one I've used. Shameless plug, but not paid for that, just so you know. So the other thing, is also spray de-icer that you can use. That could come in handy too. So definitely know about that. So extra clothes, sweaters, hats, right, gloves, which I don't have right now, but I can tell you how I felt it. Scarf, thick socks, possibly even a change of footwear. So maybe some hiking boots, something like that. Keep those in the car. Like I said, you should probably stay with your car in most cases, but in case you can't, there you go. All right, so this is something that I thought about that I don't see anybody else that's really recommending it, but bring medicines with you. If you have, you know, if you're diabetic and you normally carry insulin, you should carry some with you. Carry some extra if you can, right? So if you're, you know, have prescription medicines, blood pressure medicines, whatever, God, I definitely would want to have some extra with me. I realize there's some things that don't keep if they're like in a car, or if it's too cold or too warm or something like that. I don't know all that. Obviously consult your doctor on what you can keep with you, but I would definitely, you know, I got a couple medicines that I take, and especially just aspirins, man, just, you know, how it changes the pressures and stuff like that can really affect me. So man, I'd at least want some migraine medicine, stuff like that. But just realize, obviously you don't want something that can knock you out, of course, because you know, obviously if you need to drive, you need to drive, right? But certain prescriptions, I would say you should definitely consider having those on hand, right? A flashlight, flint, knife, lighter, those are all things too. So obviously a flint is something that's really cool because it'll you can create sparks with it, and you can actually start fires, turn on the canned heat like I was talking about earlier. There's also something, instead of the canned heat, there's also something that's called it's a candle. It's called a candle heater. It does the same thing. It's about a big candle that you put in a bucket. It's the same thing, but that canned heat really puts out a lot more heat, and it takes up a little bit less room. So that's what I like. But the candle will probably actually last longer. So less heat but lasts longer. More heat lasts half the time. You figure it out. And then obviously a knife, just in case you need it for anything. And then, you know, cigarette lighter. I always say cigarette lighter, but a lighter, right? So you can actually light things too. But that flint, it won't go bad, right? The flint can light regardless. A lighter can, you know, lose its fluid over time. You know, maybe that little zapper that on that little stick lighter doesn't work, whatever. I like a flint, all right? A little snow shovel. They have little collapsible snow shovels. That's something that's good to have. Those hot hands or something along those lines, where they touch the air, you open them up, they touch the air, and the chemical inside of them starts to get warm for you, and throw them in your pockets, help keep you warm that way. Not bad to have those. First aid kit, should always have that anyway, right? So jumper cables and a jump start battery, and make sure that it's charged, so you can actually charge it while you're driving a lot of times, because they charge via USB. So those little jump start batteries, those are really good to get. You can get them cheap, you know, 50 to 100 bucks. I know it's not dirt cheap, but it's fairly cheap for what it can do for you. So definitely get those. A tow strap, right? Sometimes people are willing to help you, but they don't have the equipment, so you should probably carry your own. So if you have a tow strap, even if you don't have a truck, get a little 30-foot tow strap or something like that. You can also use that if you had to go away from the car to help find your way back to the car. So definitely get something like that, of course. So road flares, not bad to have those, you know. Fluorescent distress flags with a whistle, right? So the fluorescent distress tags, you can tie those to a luggage rack, something like that. If you're off the road, hopefully somebody can see you at that point. Whistle, if you get one, get a plastic one, all right? Just so you know, because the metal ones will stick to your lips, because they just will. But get a plastic whistle. That way, if your battery's dead, whatever, and maybe you don't have the ability to holler at somebody, that whistle can be heard from a long way. All right, so there's a reason that when they're playing football or basketball or that, they don't just go, "Hey guys, stop." They blow that whistle, because you can hear that pretty easily. Fix a flat is on a lot of lists that people have. That's fine, but realize that it has to be warm in order for it to work. If it's really cold, that stuff that fixes the flat won't come out of it. So remember that. I suggest having toilet paper, maybe Kleenex. Why? Well, y'all can figure that out. But you know, and then obviously food and water. If you guys you know, want to have something for that, be like, water could freeze. Well, yeah, but chances are it's probably not going to be frozen while you're you know, in at least a decently warm vehicle. And if it did freeze, you could always set it next to that canned heater, and hopefully it would thaw out for you. But it's better to have something than nothing, right? So some food items that I've seen suggested, this one I believe was from Minnesota. It suggested raisins, which is actually, that's a pretty good one. Semi-sweet chocolate in pieces, miniature candy bars. They said chewing gum, not sure why. And then wrapped hard candies, food bars like protein bars, things like that. Canned soup, meat, and poultry, which so all in a can. Obviously, if you have a can that you need a can opener for, realize that. But it'd be kind of nice. You set that, turn that little heater on, and you put that canned soup over there, and you might be all right. You know, who knows? It'd be like a little camping trip. But they suggest a 30-foot cord to use as a homing line when you exit the vehicle. You tie it to the car, and maybe you're going to use the restroom, and you can kind of, which I know there's no restroom out there, but you get what I'm saying. And then sand or cat litter, and this is the best suggestion that I've seen yet. They suggest putting it into a plastic milk carton, so that, you know, you kind of use a funnel and dump it into a plastic milk carton, turn the top on, or the top on, and then you can, you know, have 4 or 5 of those in back, and you dump them out to help get traction, things along those lines. Man, it's a whole lot easier to do that and to keep a bag in the back of your car. So I think that's a really good suggestion. So but when it all comes down to it, the real answer is be smart. Don't do anything that's stupid. You know, don't do anything that's going to really jeopardize your life. Realize that the weather can kill you. You can get hypothermia even in like 50 degrees. So you know, realize that it can be rough out there, guys. So hopefully I've helped you guys out a little bit with a couple suggestions, maybe some things you didn't think about. If I gave you something you didn't think about, definitely hit that like button for me, and put it down in the comments there. I appreciate you guys for doing that. So just like I said, just trying to help. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some haters out there that'll find something that I said wrong or did wrong, and when it comes to doing this video, that's fine. You can put that down there too. I read them. I try to respond to everything, but some people are nicer than others. I always appreciate you guys, of course. But did I forget anything? or anything else you guys want to add, definitely put that in the comment section. If it's something really good, I'll bring it up and I'll put it in the video's description, and we'll all talk about it together. But definitely, like I said, I've seen the winter in the north, seen the winter in the south. Haven't seen it outside this country yet, but who knows? We'll see at some point. But hopefully I've helped you guys out. Steve Walsh, Beamer Toyota in Nashville. Beautiful, beautiful 28-degree day. It says that right there, 28 degrees on there. So it's the wind is like sustained. I think it's at 18 miles an hour, so it's feeling like single digits, I'm sure. So you guys can probably tell me how the math equation works. But rambling now. Steve Walsh, Beamer Toyota. You guys have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.